Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World is a 2003 American epic war drama film set during the Napoleonic Wars. The movie boasts a star-studded cast, with Russell Crowe in the leading role as Jack Aubrey. But as great as this movie is, how close to historical events is it? The movie's plot and characters are adapted from 3 novels in Arthur Patrick O'Brien's Aubrey Maturin series, which includes 20 completed novels of Jack Aubrey's naval career, but matches the events in no one novel. The movie is set during the Napoleonic Wars, when Captain Jack Aubrey of the frigate HMS Surprise is ordered to intercept the heavy frigate Acheron, a French privateer who is targeting British whaling ships. The Surprise and the Acheron battle throughout the movie, with the Acheron being able to easily withstand Surprise's fire. Having taken much damage, the Surprise is forced to be refitted at sea, rather than a lengthy return to a port for repairs. After, she begins to follow the Acheron. Following the Acheron, Surprise rounds Cape Horn and heads for the Galapagos Islands, where the whaling fleet is concentrated. The ship's surgeon, Stephen Maturin, played by Paul Bettany, is interested in the island's unique flora and fauna, and Aubrey promises his friend several days' exploration time. However, when Surprise reaches Galapagos, they recover the survivors of a whaling ship, Albatross, burned by Acheron. Aubrey hastily pursues the privateer, dashing Maturin's expectations of more time to explore. Surprise then becomes stranded for several days, with the crew growing restless and disorderly. The wind finally picks up and the Surprise continues its pursuit. It was during this pursuit that the crew recognises that they must get extremely close for their guns to have an effect on the Acheron's hull. After observing the camouflage ability of one of Maturin's specimens, Aubrey disguises Surprise as a whaling ship. He hopes the French would be lured in to capture the valuable ship rather than destroy it. Acheron falls for this disguise, and Surprise launches her attack. With the back wheels of the cannons taken off, the cannons are angled upwards and fire upon Acheron's main mast, while Captain Howard's marine sharpshooters pick off the crew of Acheron from above. Acheron is disabled when the main mast snaps and falls into the sea. Aubrey then leads boarding parties, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat, which leads to the capture of the ship. As I have mentioned before, the movie is set upon novels, which are set to the backdrop of a historical period. The film, however, takes place in 1805 during the Napoleonic Wars, rather than in 1812 during the US-UK conflict of that period in which the books are set. However, not all elements of the movie are fictional. The ship, the Surprise, is very well represented in the film, matching diagrams quite closely to the real HMS Surprise, which gained fame for capturing privateers, as well as winning a tightly contested boarding action to reclaim a mutinied HMS Hermione. Those not familiar with naval warfare in the Napoleonic period might think it odd that children were on the ship, and, even more strange, that they had important roles and fought in engagements, but this is a truthful representation for the time. Naval command at the time was a difficult field to advance in, and it could take years just to learn the ins and outs of a single ship. Aristocratic children were often sent to serve on a ship at a young age to get a head start towards command, and they were well educated enough to handle responsibility well above their age. The movie gives an example of a couple of boys who stood out above the rest as being brave, smart and talented leaders, while other scenes show the rest of the children learning the basics. Another noteworthy aspect of the movie is the relative calm and civil dialogue even in the height of combat. The Mr. Holland, if you please, may seem unrealistic in such situations, but it was very common aboard warships at the time. Good manners were drilled into the men, and sticking to it during battle helped cooler heads prevail, during periods where orders and plans had to be efficiently executed. Also, there are many other small details that were excellently done, especially the mess and the sounds of battle. However good the movie may seem, there are inevitably some historical mistakes. The first battle is unrealistic, as the Akron had such a decisive advantage that it is hard to imagine how the surprise could have escaped in real life. Taking 2 broadsides, while their own could scarcely penetrate the thick oak of the Akron, the crew decimated and the rudder shot. With such damage being dealt, the Akron would have been able to maintain close contact, fire more broadsides, and been able to board. Also, at the end of the movie, the captured Akron is sent to the Spanish colonial port of Valparaiso in Chile. Not only was the Valparaiso farther away than other acceptable ports, it was also still very underdeveloped by 1805. Its real growth into a port city didn't start until about a decade later. On top of this, Valparaiso was Spanish and therefore allied with France and Napoleon, something Captain Aubrey would have known. Therefore, sending the captured ship there would be as good as giving it back to the French. As a whole, Master and Commander at the Far Side of the World is a good representation of the period it portrays in naval history, with only minor inaccuracies. It is a highly entertaining movie, and I highly recommend it for anyone who likes historical movies.